Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. This video is on who owns the future. Who is actually writing our future? And so we're going to be dipping in to Candace and this whole Macron lawsuit thing and what's going on and what might actually be behind it. And sorry, I just totally forgot to turn it off. But we're gonna dive into it and just see what happens, see what we come up with. But it's a lot. It's a lot. So let me start. And those of you that don't know what happened or what's going on, I'm not going to share too much, just a quick nutshell summary. Candace Owens, who is a pretty popular YouTuber, has been sharing a series called Becoming Brigitte. She relied upon a French reporter for all that information and French news, French a book that was already written in France, apparently. And she took that information and she researched it, and she now believes it. And so she's created a series that documents everything and why she believes it. And that has triggered the powers that be to the point that because this series is, of course, about Brigitte Macron, that they have now sued her in the US, sued her for defamation. And so she's standing up to that. She is not taking this lying down. She's excited about it, actually. She says she's looking forward to it. She says she can't wait. She can't wait for discovery and for all the information to come out because she doesn't see that she has done any kind of defamation whatsoever. So it's a pretty tough series, and it's incredible the depth that they have gone to research this. Candace and her team, as well as the other people that have been speaking about this for a while. I leave it up to you. I am clearly not wording it in a way to say, what you should believe, but I will say go check it out. It's one of the most fascinating and interesting deep dives that I've come across in a very, very long time. So, what could this be really about, though? Like, why did Macron sue her, and what could this lead to? What I'm not even going to get into the debate about who's going to win, because that's all everybody cares about is who's going to win this, right? Who's going to, um, how is she going to walk out of this? Is she going to lose face? I don't think so. I don't see that happening. Are the Macrons going to lose face? Not mu I don't see that happening either, right? So there's going to be like this. I feel honestly, it's not going to reveal too much about the Macrons. Like that salacious stuff that we're looking for, it's not going to come up and out. They're too protected for that. And I think that with a non-confirmation, we will have to be satisfied as a confirmation, maybe. I don't know. But as to Candace, I only see her taking off from here. And I don't see this ruining her career at all, even if she's proven wrong, because what she's doing is it's interesting. It's so multi-layered. That's why I don't want to fall into the hype. Although, I do think, like I said in other videos before, that there might be something to it. She's onto something. But there's something else going on behind Candace as well. And so that's the question that probably the Macrons have too, is who's giving her this information that is making her so confident and her not willing to back down whatsoever. Where is she getting her information from? I think that's what the Macrons are actually out for, right? So what else does she know? And who is leaking? Where's the leak? And they're possibly hoping to find it in this way, shape, or form. Not quite sure. I've already done a detailed video. If you go back and check my previous videos, one is called The Fall, where I talk about all of this and what actually, from a larger point of view, what might actually be going on behind the scenes regarding this. But now with this defamation lawsuit, what else is going on? So I dug around a little bit, and It feels to me, it really feels to me like there are 2 points I want to get through with this video. Number one is online regulation and how that is a thing. I'm not quite sure how much of a thing it is in the US at this moment. I'm sure it's being considered, talked about, and so on and so forth, but that it's out in the public and a topic of discussion, I'm not quite sure. But in Europe, it's a thing. It's a huge thing. The UK has just launched their online privacy laws, which are now forcing certain websites to demand identification verification from people to visit these websites, and such as innocuous websites, something on the level of Reddit or something. And so people are having to upload their government ID into these systems in order to visit the website. So the question becomes who's monitoring the data, who's, how data security, once again, right? Always, always, always. And it turns out that these are third-party companies. It's not the government who's hosting that information. So how long are they retaining it for? Who are they selling it to? Right? How is the privacy being guaranteed? Of course, they're all guaranteeing privacy, but we all know, leaks happen. If you just Google leaks, cyber leaks, every week there's something else with some other company, some other system, some other thing where everybody's information was leaked. It's all over the dark web, horror of horrors, and then somebody comes online and tries to sell you an insurance to keep your information off the dark web. Probably it's everybody's is on there by now. Everybody's. There are leaks all over the place. So how are they going to guarantee this? Well, it doesn't seem like they're too concerned about guaranteeing safety. It's all about control. It's all about being able to monitor, to control, to find that one needle in the haystack that could be dancing out of tune. And that's what they're selling this as, of course. And so one of the big, big players in this is, you guessed it, France, right? France is, I'll start to share my screen here, one second. But France's tech laws are they're wanting to, oh no, one second. One second. Okay, so and this is just typing in France tech laws, digital ID. And France to introduce digital ID cards via mobile app in 2025, and so on and so forth. But I touched base on this in the video of the fall where I spoke about the Spanish prime minister who was speaking up against the tech companies and saying how tech companies are trying to erode democracy. They're trying to bring the fall of democracy. And his solution for that was digital identification for online activity. And so this thing with Candace would play right into their, as I'm sure you can imagine, play right into it. So age verification for adult sites comes into force in France. They've already pushed that through. And so the age verification, like I said, it's not just like you're used to, are you over 18? Click the box and that's it. No, no, you have to online verify. So that means uploading your government ID in order to access these sites. So what they're actually trying to do as well is to get one ID for everything, as I'm sure you know, right? So I'll leave you to research this to dive into it. But they're trying to get one ID for everything. So whether it's your online activity or your driver's license or your, it's that one gateway, that one portal to you that controls it all. And so, of course, right. And the thing is that how many of the normal citizens are really out to do harm? Like, I know, I'm sure I'd be surprised if I were actually behind the scenes working but honestly, how many of them are actually out to do harm? And how many of the people nowadays don't trust their governments anymore because every week there's some kind of a scandal or some kind of a corruption or something else going on with people in government? I mean, the balance, you know? But why is it that the control is always over us, right? So we know why. I'm asking rhetorical questions here. We absolutely know why. So it's kind of interesting because another thing with Candace here, a privacy trade-off. Um, privacy experts slam new UK age verification checks. Potential privacy and security nightmare may be only one of the downsides. Yeah, this is on Tech Radar, right? So yeah, here on the Financial Times, Labour MPs back proposal for universal digital identity card. Influential think tank says new credential will strengthen enforcement, of course, immigration rules and help tackle benefits fraud. Okay, sure. So yeah, yeah. It's it's really, 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 really going to get very, very, very interesting from here on in. And I'm I don't know how honestly, I don't know how this is going to play out with Candace and Macron and if they're going to, but I no, no, I'm being too careful here. I do feel this is going to definitely play into their favor for a digital ID. It's 100% going to play into their favor. So this is just another reason to regulate, all this misinformation that's being spread. Yes, they're in the public eye, but they're also human beings. They don't need to, accept everything, tolerate everything. They don't have to prove themselves. But of course, then there's the other argument because they are in the public eye and they are generating decisions and situations and conditions under which people have to live and endure, and possibly for a very long time and possibly even pass into the next world under these conditions. So, yes, we need to know who's making these conditions or who's influencing these conditions into the tiniest detail. And yes, they need to be scrutinized and looked at the same time, this has been going on for generations. So just because we're waking up now to it, I mean, many of us come from generations where everybody just bowed down to authority. As long as they had money and a position of power, they were to be obeyed and to be listened to and to never question because questioning them was disrespect. And that's what they're trying to frame this as, some form of disrespect, but it's not disrespect at all. It's accountability. And it's finally bringing into to balance this imbalance of power. At the same time, though, right? What's behind the person who's bringing this balance to the imbalance of power? So, what new thing is being opened up for here? Because it's certainly not freedom, because we're not evolving as a collective, as a whole. So if one power structure falls, we just replace it with another power structure. We don't yet understand that we have to reclaim our power and that we don't need these power structures. That's going to take generations. So what's behind this, right? Is it really to clean things up? I don't know. We've heard that before. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and to see what evolves out of this and what comes out of this. It's interesting for me to watch the archetypes as well, the archetypal things play themselves out here. And what do I mean by that? Well, to me, Candace kind of represents that trickster archetype, that one that steps in and whirls things up a little, right? And reveals truths, but also creates a certain amount of chaos. And nobody knows at the end of it, like, was this worth it, or did it actually affect anything or not? Because the only thing that I can see of being of value here to someone would be what I've already spoken about in the video, The Fall, where I speak about the falling of Western idealisms and the Western ideals. Because to think for a second that anything's going to really fully change, they're only going to dig deeper. They're only going to hide in darker spots. They're only going to, like, there's something fundamental here that's being missed, even if we're calling darkness into the light. It's still not going to be that thing that we're looking for. So I hope people don't expect too much from this situation, you know? And so on the other flip side, the flip side is the irony. The absolute irony is that Brigitte is being forced into this archetype of the initiated feminine under attack. So I mean, it's been going on for eons, that strong women in air quotes. And I'm not defending Brigitte, okay? I'm just looking at the archetypes here and how this is all playing out. And it's been going on for eons that people have been saying that strong women, or women that are, proud in the public eye, that they have masculine energy, or they're like a man. That seems to be the total that seems to be the worst insult a woman can get, is like, you're a man, you're like a man. Or the worst insult a man can get is, you're like a woman. Why is it so insulting to be the other? Why is this still in our minds as an insult? That is deeply insulting. I mean, I wouldn't like hearing it, to be honest, but why is it in my mind? Why is it in our mind as this deep insult? You're like a man. So watching these archetypes battle it out, duke it out, it's kind of fascinating. And it's fascinating how the twist comes in, right? This total twist where Brigitte is the one who is all of a sudden the victim, who's vilified for age, appearance, her gender or not gender, like, it's all of a sudden she, without wanting to, becomes the symbolic carrier of the wounded, sacred feminine. And she didn't even, like, what is going on here? What is going on here? Like, it's so convoluted that it's unbelievably difficult, but interesting to untangle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So of course it's right in this tech war that the tech companies have going on with governments, where they feel like governments are too slow, they're too burdened, they're too clumsy, they're too corrupt, and they're too disunified to actually effect real change, to bring peace to humanity, to bring a coherent kind of value to the world. But at the same time, do the tech companies have the solutions? They sure think they do. And the problem is that we hand it over to them, right? Because they've branded the future. Tech companies have literally branded the future, air quotes, the future. All our future projections are what they've already given us, right? Which is always tied to tech. It's like we don't even have any future ideas anymore. We don't have any future visions anymore that goes without tech, or that goes without a tech company's overlay, right? But some of these people that are running these tech companies, they have some really dark fantasies. Like Elon Musk, he's standing on the White House lawn in this interview with Trump. And Trump is talking about his Cybertruck. He's trying to get people to like Elon again and not boycott Tesla, because that was back in March or April or whenever, when everybody was boycotting Tesla, at least in Europe. Again, I don't know what was happening in the States regarding that. But people even have stickers on their Teslas because now they can't get rid of them, right? That they hate Elon, they're just driving the car, and so on and so forth. So but Elon was standing there and he was talking about his Cybertruck, which, if you guys have seen it, is this klutzy kind of angular thing. And he's saying that, oh yeah, because Trump was like, who could come up with this design? Who could create this design, right? Besides this genius Elon here. And Elon's like, yeah, I was thinking, what would Blade Runner drive? And that's how I came up with the design. Like, what? Like, why is his future projection so negative, and why are we going along with it? Why every time I turn on Netflix is it some dystopian, dark, zombie chasing, nightmare, post-apocalyptic world where everybody's living in a container? Like, why are we visualizing this stuff? Right? Blade Runner, the archetypes that run through there are the tag words that I could give you there: synthetic humans, identity crisis, hyper surveillance, eco collapse. Sound familiar? So it's like, and it's a society where people have literally lost their souls. So why are we emulating that? So at the same time, going back to Candace, she's also this ritual scapegoat, in this larger transmutation of whatever it is that we're doing. Like I don't want to sound like an old timer because I welcome progress. I welcome the future, the positive future. I welcome moving forward. I welcome leaving the past behind. I welcome burning bridges and just, starting fresh. But at the same time, I don't think anybody knows what this is beyond. This is one of the most incredible times that we are living through that humanity has ever, ever, ever encountered. And it's half the time I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't even know what to say anymore. So yeah, why we choose to live in someone else's fears, someone else's stories all the time, consistently, continually, it's incredible. And why we choose to believe in someone else's fears and what they project onto the future and what they think we all as collective have to do, and we just let them think for us and run ahead with it. It just blows my mind. Blows my mind. So coming back to this Candace Macron thing, there's clearly something else, something much, much deeper that's going on here. And it's a war on your attention, absolutely. It's definitely going to push, I feel, even more regulations or laws around free speech and what that looks like. They're definitely trying to get the US to rethink this First Amendment right of free speech that was written by, at the time, I mean, if we go back and look at who wrote these laws, how old they were what, 20s, 30s, way back when these so it's definitely, I see some amendments coming down the line for America and the US. Absolutely. I see some amendments coming down the line that will touch on what represents free speech and what is not. And what certain news people, podcasters, online people can do online and what they can't. And they're going to mold it into going along with the future. Like the laws that we have are outdated. We need to update them to reflect our current stance, to reflect where we are today, to reflect what's happening in the world today. And that's part of what tech companies have been saying about governments, is that they're not up to date. They're not up to speed. They don't even know what's going on. And so the laws that are, or non-existence of laws, non-regulation of laws around speeding up developing tech is going to be a problem. Elon was speaking about that. years ago. And he said that's why well, we can believe him or not, but that's what he said was that's why he's diving into tech and doing all the developments that he's doing because he wants to be ahead of the curve because of the lack of regulation, because of the lack of giving a safe pathway forward. He wants to make sure that he's there ahead of the curve because there are a lot of bad actors out there. And if he's not doing it, somebody else is going to be doing it. So that was his, again, I'm just stating what was said. So yeah, so that's all I honestly see coming out of this. I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. I don't think we're going to get the full story, just like everybody's eagerly waiting for the Epstein files. That's not going to happen. Um, again, it's who's ultimately going to pay the price, right? So we're looking and we're thinking Candace is going to pay the price or Macron is going to pay the price. Whoosh, no, baby. No, it's us. It's us. We are going to pay the price. And I think this is what people haven't yet quite woken up to. And it'll just, quietly happen like things always do, and we'll quietly accept it and quietly adapt to it and quietly adjust, and life goes on. And eventually we'll wake up and everybody's on TikTok crying and nostalgic over the 80s and the 90s where we had more freedoms and we had more rights. And evil them. I I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't even know what to say anymore. So let me check the chat and see what you guys are saying. And hi, Sophie. Greetings from Prague. Hello. Dating apps also now ask for your government photo ID. I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would. It's a global it's definitely moving in that direction. Yes. Definitely moving in that direction. Hmm. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So as Brigitte also, kind of represents this initiated, wounded feminine, and I know you guys are like, what? No, she's not. No, that's what's being projected onto her, right? So even if she's taken that role, regardless of whatever's being said about her, let's just keep that aside, whatever is being said about her. But she's taken that role of this wounded feminine, but I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. And she's taken that role. Okay. So eventually, what they're going to try to project is that she's being publicly shamed for her age, her body, her fertility status, her gender. And this kind of mirrors historical witch hunts. Again, I'm not standing up for her. I am looking at the archetypes and I'm seeing this twist in the cord. Okay. I'm seeing what was traditionally a female and a genuinely female role now being played out in a different way, but it's being played out, but it's kind of switched. It's gone from here to here. And we have to pay attention to this stuff because this is what gets us. This is the underneath of our collective thinking, our personal thinking, and what we then project and manifest, as a collective experience. So she's remaining poised and silent and elegantly controlled, pretending to be like this suffering Madonna kind of thing, or this suffering archetype. Whereas Candace is the one who's being pushed into the role, even though she's being scapegoated. I think she's being used as well, even though she's being pushed into this role of being the attacker, being the actual masculine energy, being the provoker, being the inquisitor almost, you know. So it's at the same time though, they're weaving this feminine figure that what's her name? Brigitte is representing. They're weaving it together as the feminine being complicit with the empire, right? Feminine being institutional power, feminine being able to justify control under the guise of dignity, right? So it's really interesting what they're doing here and how they're playing with people's subconscious and the archetypes that are being done to this, but it's going to create so much confusion in people where feeling wise, they're going to feel like, oh, they'd want to protect her, but they want to protect her as well because just confusion, just confusion. And this is exactly, I think, what Candace is kind of sort of going up against, kind of sort of going against the confusion that is being created in people um, around certain things, around the flows of life, the laws of life, so to speak. So yeah, yeah, it's interesting. But Candace is definitely being pushed into the role of trickster and playing the trickster role while Brigitte is this passive kind of elegant kind of uh, Madonna figure of suffering. It's incredible. It is so beyond twisted. It's unreal. But we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, like I said, like I said. So What what do you feel about this situation? That's what that's what I'm curious about too. What do you guys think? What are you guys perceiving? What do you guys feel about this situation? And while you're doing that, I'll dive into what Europe is saying about online ID. So the core motivations are, of course, number one, combating disinformation and fraud. So they see it as cutting down on the bots on all these platforms that are used to report fake news. Europe has also had interesting bouts with fake news. And they also, especially Germany, have had moments where they thought there was election interference. So they want to combat that, misinformation campaigns, online fraud, rising concerns around election interference, hate speech. They want to strengthen digital trust and security, creating a trusted digital ecosystem, enables safer e-commerce, they say, secure access to public and private services, and protection against identity theft. And they also want to reduce dependence on US tech giants because part of Europe's problem is that the US owns our information. And so a lot of Americans don't realize how much information the US collects on anybody that has anything to do with the United States of America. Literally anything. Even if you have a Europe PayPal account, even if you have all of that, you're still having to submit documents proving that you're not an American citizen. And you're having to submit all this information. So this government is collecting informations on citizens all over the world. So imagine your information being stored in, which it probably is as well, let's not lie, but still not as openly and not as cleanly, you know, but imagine all your information constantly being stored somewhere else in China or in Vietnam or in Australia or wherever every time you're doing anything with remotely connected to that country. So Europe is kind of fed up with that, and they want to reduce the dependence on US tech giants and foreign platforms by developing their own infrastructure for identity management and data governance rooted in European values and regulations. So online ID facilitates streamlined access to healthcare, benefits, taxes, voting platforms, and more under a unified, secure framework. And our problem is a lot of people I know, at least in Germany, they're not too savvy about, they're not too happy with this at all. Like they're not keen on getting into that. And so it's not really fully working. I know a lot of people in, several people that are still cash only in Germany as well. Like, I don't know how you guys are, but sometimes it's easier to use your card. Sometimes it's easier to give cash, what have you. But some people are really cash only. They'll go to the ATM, pull out their cash for the week, and that's it. So they're not too, I don't know how they're going to implement that fully here. I guess they're going to force people to do it, but they'll leave a lot of the elderly behind who just can't keep up with the technological changes. So it's going to be interesting. So they also, of course, want an identity wallet, right? So launched under the European Digital Identity Framework, this wallet allows citizens to prove identity, age, qualifications, and other credentials online. It's voluntary right now, but it's expected to become widespread across member states by the late 2020s. It ensures privacy by design, data minimization, raises concerns about centralized data control and surveillance. But also the Digital Services Act, which of course is there to push back a little with indirect pressure on verified accounts to curb illegal content, stronger ID checks to reduce bot networks and disinformation. And also there's an AI Act and Cybersecurity Initiative, which aims to regulate AI tools, deepfakes, where verified identity systems may intersect to ensure accountability. Now, France has been one of the EU's most proactive members, advocating for stronger online accountability and combating toxic digital behavior, pushing, in air quotes, pushing for a digital ID as a tool to control online disinformation and extremism, supporting legislation requiring real name policies or verified accounts on major social platforms. French tech laws show increasing fines and sanctions for platforms that fail to police speech or user identity. So that's another thing that this might play into, is how are they going to deal with YouTube, right? How is Candace still on YouTube? Again, who's behind YouTube, and so on and so forth, right? So I won't, you guys, it's a big one. So privacy and surveillance concerns, centralized digital IDs risk creating a digital panopticon, it says here, making all online activity traceable and surveilled. Potential misuse by states or bad actors could lead to censorship and social control. So yeah, a freedom of expression and anonymity. Enforced online ID may undermine anonymous speech, which is crucial for whistleblowers, activists, and marginalized voices. Of course, data security risks, digital exclusion risks, vulnerable populations lacking access, literacy, or IDs could be excluded from essential services or censored if they cannot obtain or use these IDs. Right? So it's kind of, they're kind of wanting to go along with China's social credit system, but at the not that far, not as far as China. So a little bit in that direction, but not completely all the way to the end. But once you step on that train, guess what? So rollout of the EU digital identity wallets. They want to accelerate that over the next 2 to 5 years. New regulations may require platforms to integrate verified ID systems or face sanctions, which they've already begun in the UK. Possible alignment with cross-border digital identity schemes for travel, work, etc. Ongoing debates on how to safeguard sovereignty, privacy, and freedoms while implementing these systems. So, yeah, that's what I think is actually behind why Macron is pushing this. This just plays into what they're about anyways. It plays into what they're trying to enforce over here and push over here. And I feel they're going to push back on the US sooner or later. They're going to be pushing back on the tech companies of the US. And that by extension will be pushing back on the US because, of course, the American government is going to be standing up for their businesses and their tech companies. So it's going to turn into something, and we might not even notice the connection between the two, because it's all playing out over here and it's bombastic and fantastic and it's hilarious. And I'm there too. And I'm laughing right along with you guys. And I'm like, oh my God. But on the other hand, somewhere over here, this whole other thing is playing out and we're not connecting the dots or seeing how they're utilizing this to change public opinion. They're utilizing this to push public opinion into a certain direction. And I know that you guys think that this has to do with the evil and the rot that is in the world and all these nefarious networks and so on and so forth. Sure, probably does. But these networks have been around since time immemorial. And just because you know about it doesn't mean it's going away. Just because the information is out there doesn't mean anything changes. Now they can go deeper or operate even more openly, as the case may be. So without action, decision, this is all doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. So we'll see how it really plays out and what will really come out of this for us. And pay attention to the European news, you guys, on tech and control and online stuff, because what happens here is likely to eventually make its way to you if you're in the States. If Brigitte is a man, Candace is not playing a role of a trickster, but rather exposes trickstery, don't you think? Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is again, I guess you just jumped in, Maggie. I'm not quite sure. Hey, welcome to the chat. There I was speaking about the roles that are being thrust onto them. So if not the roles that they're choosing or the roles that they're actually that they actually are, but the roles that are being forced onto them, the boxes that they're being put into. So that doesn't mean that it actually is that. So number one, that, and rather exposes trickstery. The trickstery has been exposed. It's been exposed for a long time. A lot of people we all chose not to look, or we were in different mindset 40 years ago, 50 years ago, where humanity thought, oh, power and money equals authority. So we're going to close our eyes and let them do whatever and not pay attention. And that has now ended, right? So it's again, we'll see what comes out of this. We'll absolutely see what comes out of this. I hope something. I really hope something. But once again, it's like I watch this channel. You guys have to check him out. It's called Gary's Economics. And he's absolutely been doing an incredible amount of work uncovering the whole financial trickery that has been going on, the financial trickery that has been eroding the middle class, destroyed the middle class, right? And destroyed that bridge between the poverty and the uber wealthy. And now it's either or, and people are still going along with it. So even if it's exposed, and he's calling that out too, he's like, you guys have to stand up. You guys have to stand up for yourself, right? You guys have to do something. You guys have to choose something, what have you. So as long as nothing's being done from us, it's going to continue. It's absolutely going to continue. So what can we do at this point, right? That's we cannot play along. I think that's the biggest thing, and people have been trying to do that for quite some time, but we have to try that more intensely. Not play along anymore, create our own systems, create our own networks, get back into community networks, so on and so forth. Buy from your local farmers. You know the drill. You guys know all this. You've probably been watching all the YouTube videos I haven't been watching, right? But it's more than just exposure that needs to happen, because we already knew. Even if Europe is able to wean off the tech giants and get the laws passed, it's more profitable to break the law and pay the fine. True that. Also, housing tech giant data in country doesn't block the corporation. Yeah, that's true. It's all true. True, true, true. Which, this is why I don't even know what to say anymore, because we're at this point where we have to do a lot more than we anticipated having had to do to break out of this, to wean ourselves out of this entire system. And I'm increasingly starting to think as well, or to feel, not even to think, to feel that even the internet, here we are on the internet and we're connecting. And isn't that amazing? We're connecting across time, across dimensions, across space, right? Across worlds. And here we are connecting through this internet, but it wasn't created for us. It wasn't created for us. We keep thinking, oh, this was just a natural evolution and somehow it was created with us in mind, but it wasn't. It's this gigantic Noah's Ark of uh, sucking up all the information out of humanity, sucking up all the information out of the world, out of everything, and it's become the nervous system of another being. So it's I don't know what to tell you guys. I really don't. I really don't. But it's we we have to that movie Avatar, it's so I think it hits such a deep chord with so many people, not just because of the graphics and the incredible visuals, but the storyline of the vulnerable natural creature, the naked, natural, humble, compassionate, connected creature being overrun by tech and machines and this mindset of just corporate greed. And them fighting back and winning, and we're like, yeah, but that's the problem, is what they're showing in Avatar is quite possibly what we're going to have to do. And I'm hesitating to say this because of the platform that I'm on, but it's going to take a little bit more, and I'm not calling for that. I'm not calling for that. I'm just seeing it for what it is. It's going to take a little bit more than what we're all doing currently. And I think we're all hesitating. We're all taking that step back. We're all thinking, no, if I pray a little harder, if I think positive, then this is what's going to happen. But at some point in this reality, thinking has to lead to action, has to lead to taking action. And we're almost at that point. We're almost at that point. So it's not something that we're looking at um, lightly. And just like in the movie Avatar, they didn't want to do it, but they had to do it. And eventually you have to do it with your full heart. Like you can't just be like this over here. You have to be in that battle wholeheartedly. And God needs warriors too. God needs people that are willing to stand up for them. I think at least in the US, the corporate race to make data the pinnacle of profitability will help shrink the workforce enough that consumerism will no longer be sustainable. People will have to become local and operate outside of the system that rejected them. What is built after that? That could be. That could be. But there's also that, what other people are also saying is that they're wanting to diminish human populace. Like that's the goal, is they already know this was designed, like this whole population crisis that we're entering into, it was by design. They've been teaching us for years, up in 70s, 80s, 90s. Oh my gosh, there are too many people on the planet. And that wasn't the case at all. right? As we're seeing now. Now they're backtracking and saying, oh my gosh, we're going into a population decline. We don't have enough people to keep the systems running that we've created to support our lives. And, but that was by design. That's what they wanted because they don't want people doing this anyways. So shrinking the workforce, they're planning on that. That's part of it. That's part of it. And no, consumerism will no longer be sustainable. No, no. Susie, what action though? You need to watch the movie. Watch the movie Avatar. Watch the movie Avatar. Fascinating story of Macron and Candace, but also the whole thing is sickening. Yes, the whole thing is absolutely sickening. And when you dive into, because I've been diving into it a lot, also because of the trip that I'm doing now in September to southern France, and it's sold out, and I'm so happy with this small group of amazing women that I'm going there with. But of course, I'm doing the research beforehand for, in addition to, and the connections crisscrossing throughout Europe with all of that darkness that is now being pulled out into the open, so to speak. It's incredible. And it's there too. It's there in the south of France too. So it's been there a very, very long time on this planet. It's not that we don't have enough people, it's that nobody's following them anymore, at least not the amount of people they need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, people are tired. People are tired and they're all shying away internally or otherwise from stepping into what actually needs to be done. And we're all shying away from it. We're all thinking like there has to be a different way. There has to be a different way. But no, no. And this is too entrenched. It's too hooked in. All of us are too hooked into the system. We're too dependent on the system wherever you live, it doesn't matter. Um, I mean, even we're all curious about a future that would be easier, that would be somehow lighter, that would be more futuristic, but somehow it's not developing along Tesla's ideas of future, right? That's not manifesting because we have these tech gurus who are completely dark, who are manifesting Blade Runner cars, you know? Like, of all things, why not angel wings? Why not get us all wings so we can all fly? Wouldn't that be amazing? No, we're manifesting Blade Runner cars. Why not manifest med beds? We've been talking about that for eons, for years. Oh, yeah. Why not manifest that? No, no, we're manifesting Blade Runner cars. It's that's why I keep saying I don't even know what to say anymore because I can't paint the picture pretty for you guys and say, "Oh, this is amazing, next year, I don't know, this is going to happen and this is going to happen." And I'm sure that would up my viewership and people would leave feeling good and then they'd come back and get more and, all of that. But would it be the truth? I don't think so. And I'm sick and tired of not looking at what is actually true of this escapism that has been going on, right? Also in the spiritual communities. Escaping is the big thing, but it's not about escaping. Buddha even said there's no shortcut out of this except through. We have to go through it. So, no, I don't see I don't see anything positive for us, for the normal people in humanity, you and me that are just living our lives coming out of this Candace and Macron thing. It's entertaining for sure. Um, I don't see him and his entire network being exposed. I don't see the Epstein files being released and that whole thing being exposed. And even if they were exposed and you now had confirmation that these names are of the most, household name people that are on these so-called lists, what would change in your life? What would you do differently? What would change in anybody's, even if they knew this, what would change? And even if it did lead to the collapse of a system, which would be pretty horrific right now, because we're not together. We're not together, people. We're not together. So even if it did lead to the collapse of the system, what would we replace it with? And who would do the replacing? So we can't make whatever changes need to happen or whatever changes we need to support and make happen on on this stuff, on these stories. We can't do it. We have to recognize this is all rot, whether left, right, whatever side they're coming at us from, it's all rot. And we need to see it for what it is and do something different together. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And what I think would have to happen is we'd have to lose a lot of the mindset that gives us our ability to survive day to day. And I think that's what also a lot of people are not ready to let go of yet, because they still need that mindset. They still need that drive. They still need that oomph. They still need that edge, that ambition, that, looking out for me. Sorry, that's normal. Me first. Can't take care of you unless I'm taking care of me. And not doing things for an immediate transactional response, not doing things for an immediate dopamine hit. That pioneer spirit that Americans used to have, right? Just going somewhere, not knowing what's going to happen, sticking together, sharing the water, sharing the food, sharing the path, sharing the duties, sharing the fight. And I don't know. I just, we're too comfortable. We're too comfortable. We're comfortable enough not to do anything. And that's where they have us. Just bare minimum. Toxic relationship, living off the breadcrumbs. Hey, joyous day. I keep imagining gardens, green spaces, healthy air, fresh fruit and veggies, kindness, and everything growing naturally. Yep. Yep. And it would be even more powerful if we then did something after that imagining, right? So we imagine together, but then we also do together. And some people try, a lot of people try, but it has to become bigger. It has to become more. It has to become the majority. But yeah. And the thing is too that if it would come out that this is true, if it would come out that this is true with Macron, what next? And this is not for me to say, it shouldn't come out, because the best thing is always that the truth comes out. That's the best thing, is that always that the truth comes out. But what next? Where do we go from there? What's our next step? What do we do from with that information? Then we step away and say, oh, it's up to the French people. French people take them down, and we continue to go to Target, continue to, some way, shape, or form or another support some other corporation, and they just reroute the whole thing. Like, what's our next step? That's really what I feel we should be thinking about and looking at. And if one of our driving motivators is to support people that have been caught up in this, to support young people that have been caught up in this, then we have to create a safe haven for them to come to. So how do we do that? I'd love to hear your ideas, because clearly I'm asking these questions because I'm sitting there watching this, and I don't want to get sucked into the story of it, even though it's entertaining as hell. I keep saying that, I know. But at the same time, what am I doing with this information? What am I, Carlene, doing with this information? And so this is why I'm coming on here, and I'm sharing my thought process with you, not as like an attack on the world and ew, but it's because these are the questions I've been asking myself. Okay, so what do I do with this now? How do I change things? How do I make things happen? How do I make things come about? What do I contribute to? So it's not just you, it's also me. Like, because and now what? Right? And again, so if Candace wins, now what? If Macron wins, now what? If neither of them win, now what? It always, what's next? Because right now, what's happening to them affects them. It doesn't affect me. And what affects me though are, the food I eat, the quality of the food I eat, where that food is coming from, how expensive that food is, or you name it, whatever affects you in your day to day as well. Like, so yeah, I invite you guys to watch Gary's Economics, because he doesn't know me. He doesn't know I'm giving this out at all. It's just a channel that I absolutely just makes sense to me. And he touches on very similar topics in a way. He focuses, of course, on economics. He says that he's made, and he wrote a book about it, he's made millions banking that you're going to get poorer, and that you're going to stay poor and you're going to get poorer. And that's how he made his millions. And now he's done with that. And he's sick of seeing everybody, the rise of the wealthy, basically. And the biggest wealth transfer in human history is happening, and nobody's doing anything about it. We're all just, yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it has to be. And I mean, I went, for the example, I went to this little stationery store, and I got so annoyed because I just wanted to buy, what did I buy? I think I bought a hole punch, a cardboard cutter. Um, oh, I love fountain pens. So I got a fountain pen. And anyways, I wanted to pay by card because I didn't have enough cash on me. And she's saying to me, I don't take card, right? Like, not for that amount. Like, it has to be over a certain amount because the banks take too much. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I wanted my stuff. So my friend paid for it, who was there with me. And then I gave her the money back right after. But I was just saying to my friend without really thinking about it, just talking out loud. And I was saying, man, I should have just ordered it on Amazon, would have been a lot easier. And the lady who owned the store overheard me, and she was so upset that I said that. And I can completely understand, I totally get it. At the same time, I'm irritated because there's so many different ways now of paying that I'm sure she could find a way to take a card payment. And but it's so much easier so to go through Amazon or to go through these corporations that we know are unhealthy. It's so much easier to do the things that are unhealthy. So how do I get myself to not think about Amazon? How do I get myself to go to that corner store, to shop at the little stores and knowing I'm going to have to shop at 4 or 5 different stores instead of going to one big one to get all my stuff together, but supporting my local business? How do I do that? The e-transfer and so on, it's not like the US, Cindy, over here in Europe. It's a lot is has to do with privacy and so on and so forth. So yeah, they don't just give out their account number, or the account numbers aren't coupled to your email, so you can't send money from email to email like you can do in Canada or the US. You can't do that here. So yeah, I mean, you can do it through stuff like PayPal, but not like from bank account to bank account. Certain banks do. Not all, though. Not the major banks. It's a little more complex. So, yeah. No, she didn't take PayPal. No, 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 no. Some places here are very like small, they're conservative. They just, cash, or the big banks, like the huge, massive banks. Yeah, I know. I know, Cindy. I know. Trust me. That's why I got upset. And that's why I was like, I should have gone to Amazon. But at the same time, mm, you know, that's part of it. Like the banking system. Why is it so hard to just pay for what you want? Amazon, so convenient. So we're too comfortable. And I know it. Like I'm sharing this story with you because I'm in the same boat. And not out of judgment, and not, I'm not being, what's his name? John the Baptist here, fire and brimstone on the world. Like, no. We're too comfortable, and we're going to have to get uncomfortable again. We're going to have to let go of certain comforts in order to shake this parasite. And that's where I'm like, I don't know what to tell you guys because yeah. So once again, check out Gary's Economics and have fun over there. He's got a lot to say on the topic as well. And no, she's not, Cindy. She's not. She's not. But like I said, it's a little different over here, kind of. Yeah. Consumers are not king here. That's been a big issue. in in the last couple of years, that's been a huge issue. Massive issue. Consumers are not king. Like they're consumers, in the States, consumer is king, right? But not over here. Yeah. Yeah. I have many days like that. It's hard to contribute to local when there's so much red tape. Yeah. 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 I remember in Mexico just going, sometimes, you're walking down the street and you have the munchies, and there's this person selling sandwiches out of their kitchen window. And you're not thinking twice, I could die, right? Like you just buy the sandwich, and it's good, it's homemade, it's fresh, it was healthy, it was awesome. But imagine the red tape over here. to be able to do that. Like you can't just sell sandwiches out of your kitchen window. Like but that's what they've been doing for thousands of years, and people survived to create the next generation. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Let me see. I had my notes here and I kind of went off script a little bit. So but one thing we have to think about because it's coming is who truly gains from a world built around trust via state supervised credentials. Is it for our safety? Is it really for our safety? How can anonymous speech and how can voices that are coming from different perspectives survive what's coming? Are we going to start radioing into the darkness again? And the thing that I'm thinking about too is that the more organization they put in, the more bureaucracy they put in, the less organized and it actually is. It's going to become more and more chaotic because people are going to find like because that's just how humans are. So there's that positive that's coming up again. People are going to find a way. They're going to find a way. And eventually they'll only be able to regulate what's actually in the system, but what's outside of the system, they won't be able to regulate it. How? So I'll leave you guys with that. But when you're watching this play out with Candace and Macron, and this is just one aspect that I spoke about was the online regulation and how Europe sees American tech companies and the invasiveness with which they operate. And it's a whole new form of colonization. Um, what do you see? What are you really watching? What are you really seeing it play out here? Even when you hear the right words, I'm doing this because I'm a mother. I'm doing this because I have kids and I don't want my kids growing up in a world. I get that. I totally get that. And we can all resonate with that and we can all completely align with that. But what else is going on? Because why now? Why her? Why this topic? I mean, it's a very rare situation that happened there. I think anybody that looks at a 14-year-old boy is, I don't know who finds that in any which, I don't know anybody, and I'm sure you guys don't either, that finds that in any which way, shape, or form, even an invitation, it just doesn't know. Um, so we'll see how that ends up and plays out. But again, the age of consent in France is different. Again, it's different also if you're in a position of authority and power. So there's that. But there's too much going on behind the scenes, and this I'm afraid is just another distraction. It's like the whole thing that came up when what was that movie called again? See, I can't even remember it. Let me look it up really quick. And I did a video on that too. I did a video on that. One second, I'm looking it up. Ah, Sound of Freedom. All right. That came out and it's passed, and who's talking about it now? And I wondered back then, and I did a video back then on it. I did a video back then on it. And I was saying exactly that, that this is, I don't know what I'm watching here. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Because on the one hand, yes, this information needs to come out and it needs to be made publicly available and it needs to be seen. But the drawback is, or the price is that people watch it, they go, oh my gosh, they think they've done what they needed to do, and it fades out of human memory. It's gone. And now it's normalized almost. Everybody now finally accepts that that happens. And I mean, I have family that wouldn't be able to conceive of stuff like that happening. And if you told them that happened, they would think like, no. But now they know, you know. So now all of a sudden it's normalized, and these people then go quiet on it, even though they know it happens. Nobody says anything. So it's all like, it's so problematic. What do we do with this? And I know I'm not giving you any answers today, but hey, I'm not God. I'm not purporting to, know. I have a bunch of questions towards myself, towards this society, towards this world, towards what we're doing here, towards the opportunities that we're taking or not taking, towards the situations that we're manifesting together, and how we personally, individually contribute to this. So I'll leave you with that. And sometimes the questions lead to more answers, right? Questions are better because they open up the space, and they open up to thinking and solutions and working together and collective coming together. They open up the space for possibility, for imagination. But that's really, if I leave you with anything, please, please, please don't get sucked into the hype. Don't get into the black and white of it. And we do that every time, and every time, who pays the price? You, right? Every time. People ran out and voted for a specific person because they did the black and white, and they shut out what everybody else was saying, didn't want to hear it, didn't want to acknowledge it. No, 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 this is the only way forward. This is the only possibility. This is the only chance we have. And here we are. So don't fall into the black and white of it. Have a look at what's going on around them, what's going on behind them, what's going on underneath them. And what else could possibly be contributing to the situation, and who stands to gain what from which outcome. Some people like to say follow the money. In this case, I'd say follow the power. Yeah. Our knowledge is inherited, so it is worthless other than serving as an attractive force. I'm going to put that in my email signature. That is, yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes. And we need to change that. We need to transmute it. Transmute it. We still don't take a stand at the right time. We are all just spouting what the elites reveal to make ourselves attractive to our fellow beings. Mm. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Yippers. So eventually, and this is why I'm speaking absolute truth in this live, and this is why I only have 13 viewers in this live, is because it's not sexy. It never has been, never will be. It's much, much easier to do exactly that, to take a side and to run with it and to do the whole black and white thing, to be absolutely confident in ignorance and to absolutely know this is what it is and to absolutely be absolute. And that's not the truth at all. And I'm actually giving myself hope right now because I'm reminded of how fluid everything is, and how fluid, as long as there's no absolute form to something, it's still fluid. It can still be shaped. As long as something is not 100% certain, you can still shift it and change it. So I think it's much, much stronger now at this point to say, I don't know, to say this is a possibility, to say we have to figure this out together, to say not one person is going to have the end all be all solution, to say this is a collective thing, to say each and every one of us has to contribute to this in some way, shape, or form, to say waking up doesn't have to do with waking up to the information that is being force fed to you as this is what it is most definitively, but to wake up to the actual truth of your situation and the truth of the situation of the people around you and what's real and what's true for you, and to really see how am I living, how are we living, what are we living? Whose fears are we living? Whose ideas are we living? Whose thoughts are we living? Whose dreams are we living? And I think also waking up to what truth am I serving? Whose truth am I serving? What's the real truth here in this situation? And remembering that a lot of what we watch is entertainment. A lot of it. A lot of what we watch is distraction, entertainment, opinion shaping and forming, idea injection, manipulation, and to not be sucked in by it. To just say, you know what? No, no, no. We have problems on every single level that are not going to go away until we look at it, until we really, really look at it. Whether we're looking at our water, whether we're looking at our food, whether we're looking at how we take care of the elderly, whether we're looking at how we raise our kids, daycare, and so on and so forth for little kiddos. Why does daycare cost as much as your monthly rent? That's insane. That's absolutely nuts. Whether you're looking at health insurance, whether you're looking at being able to be insured over a certain age, whether you're looking at banking fees, whether you're looking at whether you want to be self-employed and you want to have a small business, but your country taxes the hell out of you. I mean, these are things they don't want us looking at because this is all where they're profiting from. So thinking that all the evil is going to go away if we just get them to admit that she's a man. Good luck. Good luck. So Yeah, time to get to work and time to get to the real truth of things and time to, yeah, really, 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 truly step up. What's true for me has to be true for the entire world, even if the world will never respect that. But we've confined our truth to be just ours. We don't expand or grow, we shrink in our corner. Armageddon, I like you. Yes, 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 yes. And that's exactly where they want to keep us. That's exactly where this system wants to keep us. I don't even know if it's an individual that you can pinpoint it on anymore and say, this person. And on the one hand, I do believe that we need to move away again from seeing just positions instead of seeing people. So it's not the governor of, I don't know, Idaho, but it's the name of the person and holding that person accountable, right? Because it's a human decision that affects human people and human lives. Or our entire mindset over the years, because a lot of people in these positions of power are careerists. They're pure careerists. They're not there to, I don't know, help the world. They're there to make a name for themselves. They're there to advance their career. They're going to make choices and decisions, have perspectives, work on projects that do exactly that. And so many of us know that this is true. They're going to brag on Facebook. They're going to, brag to the neighbors, right? Your mom's going to be impressed when you take somebody home and he has this job here and here. It's in all of us. And we have to uproot this whole rot, this whole nonsense. And so this is why I'm like, I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't know, breathe. Buddhism. I might take this video down after I put this up because I'm too real here. But it's incredible. It's incredible. And it's incredible how easy it is to do and how none of us are capable of doing it. It's easy. It's easy to drop the mask. It's easy to stop it. It's easy to know that this person isn't worth more than you just because he has a higher position or makes 10,000 more in a month. Spirit doesn't care. God doesn't care. Life doesn't care. And it's easy to step out of this game that we play. And we're all, like I keep saying in almost all my videos, we're on this rock rotating through the universe, flying at this incredible speed to God knows where. We don't know where we're coming from. And these are the stories that we're coming up with to tell ourselves, to tell each other, to create the societies that we live in, the stories that underline everything. This is what we come up with. This is it. This is really it. This is all we got. This is all we have. It's unreal. It's unbelievable. So I don't know. I don't know. But what I see coming in the case of Candace and Macron, I don't see it as ending well for us. However it ends for them. It's not going to end well for us. No. No. It's just another reason for more to come down the pipelines. And it's going to come down in a way, like I said, where you can't even connect the dots. You can't even see that one thing was having us look over here while they were doing that over there. And it won't even look like it's connected, but it is. Anyways, go check out Gary's channel and let me know in the comments below if you like that tip. And I'll see you on the next one. Okay. And hey, I'm just putting questions out there. I'm just putting questions out there. I don't have to these questions that I put out there. I don't have answers. I'm still working on it for myself. And yeah, yeah. I don't think it's a one person answer anyways. Honestly, I don't. This is not a one person answer. If anybody comes to you and tells you, I have the solution, you know, something's up here. Not quite. Yeah, it's not a one person answer. Okay. So I'm wishing you guys all the best. Enjoy the show, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.